and how awesome this tournament is. Grant, are we ready to roll?
Oh yes, in the top left representing StarCom Gaming. He is, there we go, I found you. He is the blue Terran player from Ukraine. It's Cuss.
And his opponent in that bottom right-hand side in the red, representing, is it Mouse Sports and the country of Germany. His name is Big Gabriel Segat. It's HeRoMaRinE. And yeah, I know, Germans in the chat, don't at me. I'm sure I pronounced his name terribly, but I'm an American. We don't really have a first world education over here. Yep. You gotta cut me some slack.
Yeah, this is true. This is true. Now, Cuss is doing something a little bit funky. We saw him do this a little bit in 4 with that Maca Rax, where he's going to put it just outside of his natural, and this could cause a little bit of panic here from Gabe. And it's unlikely Gabe overreacts here, who has been going for the double gas a little bit slower here than Cuss, I believe. The first Reaper for Cuss will be able to get across the map pretty quickly. Gabe, it does look like is going to send that SCV scout over the beautiful preview of the trophy that one of his players could end up winning. And I don't imagine we're going to see him, you know, immediately throw down 8 bunkers or anything like that. He will look for this. But mind games early on here from the Ukrainian. I like to see that.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Grant, quick quiz for you.
Oh, no.
Do you know why it's called a Maca Rax?
Wasn't there like an early GSL player?
You're absolutely correct. Good work. I need a soundboard and get that sound effect. Ding, 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 ding. You got it right. There's a player named Maca Prime who popularized this build. Yeah. Back in GSL, I think it was season 2, actually.
Season 1 or 2 for sure, yeah.
Something like that, yeah. Obviously scouted, of course, by HeRoMaRinE, who's going to be like, all right, I see what you're up to. Sees that factory going down as well. The factory actually Maca'd as well. I don't think Maca Factory is a real thing, but no. Cass, as you said, has done this before.
Yes.
No surprise. Just kind of to throw your opponent off your game a little bit. And honestly, not a bad play from Cass. He's going to need every little advantage he can get playing against a player like HeRoMaRinE. And doing something like this, if you can force HeRoMaRinE to have 5-10 seconds of uncertainty, even to delay his build at best, it's worth it. It's 100% going to pay off. And here's the big difference finally in the builds, Grant. Barracks, Factory, and then Command Center for HeRoMaRinE on the other side of the map. Cass, sticking to the 1-1-1, no expansion yet. Looking like a bit of aggression here from Cass, Grant?
Yeah, he's now going to produce, he is going to produce that 3rd and 4th Reaper as well. And if Cass is to go with just these units, and Gabe is unprepared here, only has like maybe 1 Hellion and 2 or 3 Reapers himself, there could be the potential for a bit of damage here. You can see the Reaper count as these 3rd and 4th pop out for Cass is going to mean he has an advantage. And with Reaper grenades, they cause a lot of uncertainty in early fights. And with the medevac as well, we've seen a little bit of this before, like a very aggressive 1-1-1 opening in TVT. And if Cass wants to pick up a very quick win, this could be one way to do it, but he has to be prepared for this Widow Mine, which has been made very, very smartly here by HeRoMaRinE.
Yeah, he's got to follow that advice with Scar from the Lion King. He's got to be prepared, Grant, for the chance of a lifetime, right?
Or is teeth and ambitions bad?
They better be, because he's got to fight against this Widow Mine, which, as you said, is going to be tough. Now, the good news is Hellions are pretty quick. Widow Mine will take out one of the Hellions here, but if you split quickly or even move a Reaper in, it can be nice. But with the medevac here, this is really going to make it a very aggressive push from Cass, and I don't think HeRoMaRinE was expecting this, Grant.
No, me neither. No, this is really, really good start here from Cass. He's going to pick up a few SCVs nice and quickly. Now, there is also a medevac there that's going to save 1 SCV, but 5 SCVs go down, giving Cass a pretty strong advantage here. He is now going to load up on drop into the main. A little bit of a slow drop there, but Cass just has so much. The Cyclone coming out is pretty good. The Widow Mine as well. Does look like Gabe going to do a good job in the end of pushing this back.
That Widow Mine hit, Grant, was unbelievable. That went about as well as it possibly could have for HeRoMaRinE. If Cass had seen that Widow Mine and split correctly, so seen the Widow Mine, gotten out of range, moved 1 Reaper in, and not taken all that splash damage, he could have absolutely ended the game there, Grant. I have no qualms about saying that. Even though the Cyclone was out with those 4 Reapers and the medevac, the Cyclone would have then had to choose to try and focus fire onto the medevac, meaning the Reapers were still alive, grenades are good, And yeah, I think without that Widowmine shot, Cass could have actually taken that. So HeRoMaRinE either very lucky or Cass a little bit unlucky there, getting hit with the Widowmine. And obviously it's all positioning. It's not actually luck, but it's all positioning with that Widowmine. That I think was the savior of the day for HeRoMaRinE, who's now, as we saw, going to go for some counter pressure with this Widowmine, or this medevac drop. Yeah, Cyclone and 4 Marines.
This drop's scary because there are 6 Marines on the field. There is 1 tank here, but the tank isn't in position here for Gabe. He's going to come in now and see this as it's loading, but of course they're under the medevac. Okay, this is... I think HeRoMaRinE maybe could have committed a little bit longer there, but he doesn't want to throw away any of his important units. And now this low ground very safe. Cass is still in a good spot. The game, when we look at resources lost now, almost even. Cass has that slight disadvantage. But he killed a few workers, which is nice. He's still even in the worker count. All of his tech is down. He's not slowed anything down particularly. And Cass going for that quick third CC. Oh no, it's the same time here. Well, a little bit quicker than that of Gabe.
Yeah.
But we're pretty, you know, the storm has passed for now. We're in the eye of the storm. As both players now will just take a minute to evaluate what they need to do going forward.
Yeah, both these players, if they're in the eye of the storm, Grant, they're certainly hoping to become heroes of that storm. Oh, too soon?
Yep.
It might be. It's always going to be too soon. Rip that amazing game. Anyway, as you said, third command center's down at about the same time. And it does feel earlier for Cass. I agree with you. I think it's because if you're just like watching the game, you're like, wow, he went for the 1-1-1, the early aggression. His natural was down a little bit later. That third base feels a lot earlier, but you're absolutely right. They're similar timings here. And of course, since HeRoMaRinE is down at the 3rd location, it's going to be up at about the same time. So yeah, fairly even game right now. A little surprised to see Cash pushing across as he builds 2 engineering bays behind this. That tells me this is not like a game-ending push from Cass here. He's not going all in, and especially now that he's been scouted, HeRoMaRinE should have plenty of time to get into position and try and defend against this. Wow, Cass with 2 Ravens out already, though, against the 2 of HeRoMaRinE. This could actually be a pretty bloody little struggle if Cass decides to engage.
Yeah, I can't see Cass really committing here. It's very hard to, of course, push up into siege tanks. And Romanticide is a great map where you are forced to kind of come through a choke here onto the high ground. I spoke about it yesterday. It's got very wide open low ground and very tight, compact high ground. Now, we might see a bit of aggression. Maybe an auto turret dropped in the mineral line. We are going to see, actually, Cass is going to commit a little bit here. He could force his base to be killed, cancelled, and flown away. It is going to force to be cancelled. This is a great little pickup here for the Ukrainian, who's playing some beautiful StarCraft to start off day 5 of Dreamhack Masters.
Yeah, that's a really nice push, but as you said, there's a bit of a counter potential here for HeRoMaRinE, and unfortunately with neither of those interference matrices available for Cass, HeRoMaRinE is going to be able to march through this army, and again we see Cass overcommitting just a little bit here, losing an awful lot of army supply in that fight. Sure, HeRoMaRinE's natural or orbital command at the 3rd base is slowed down a little bit. He lost a handful of SCVs, but even with those SCVs gone, we see he's still even in the worker count and slightly ahead now in the army supply, and now it's HeRoMaRinE's turn to push across with the Ravens with very little energy on both sides, and actually HeRoMaRinE's Ravens are gone, but with Cass with no energy on these Ravens and not enough for an interference matrix anyway, these tanks are going to be more effective and more efficient on their side. HeRoMaRinE, though, playing very smartly, going for a drop, going to try and split up the army of Cass and force him to defend 2 locations at once. I don't know, Grant. I feel like both these players being unnecessarily aggressive in the early game. Maybe that's just the way that the game goes at this point, though.
Yeah, we now have HeRoMaRinE trying to set up here on the high ground. I'm not sure what's going on with the camera, guys. It's been slightly odd. I'm trying to figure it out. I've just switched it back to my camera for now. Cass is in a pretty good defensive posture, though. It's going to be hard for HeRoMaRinE to push up here. He does have a very good tank number, but of course he doesn't have that much bio behind it. Big tank shot, getting a bunch of SCVs down early, and we do have a push coming into the natural as well. What was it that got all those kills?
That natural push was just a couple of Marines here going into the main, the Cyclone there as well, but also most importantly, picked off combat shields for Cass. That upgrade was denied, so huge problem. Brandon, are we back on your camera, you said?
Yeah.
All right, no problem. And the natural, of course, getting mowed down right now by HeRoMaRinE here, and Cass losing almost everything. See, this is what's great about HeRoMaRinE's push here, forcing Cass to defend in 2 locations at once, and Cass does not have the tank count to be able to control that zone. The tank count now 6-1, and Grant, even if you have an even bio, even with an upgrade advantage, which Cass doesn't have, this tank count is going to be just murderous. The stimmed bio is going to get in so much trouble. Wham, look at those Marines cleared out there. The tanks will get cleaned up, and Cass will push HeRoMaRinE away, but I think HeRoMaRinE in a strong position now.
Yeah, combat shields being lost there is massive. That completely slows down any aggression that Cass would be wanting to do here. He is now forced to sit back and rebuild that add-on and restart that upgrade. He is continuing to make medevacs and keeping his bio count going. Of course, we both know these players are both playing bio by now. That is fully established here for both of these guys. I'm so confused as to the camera here.
Here, you on my camera again?
Yeah, it's just like, it's spun at a weird angle.
Oh yeah, I saw that as well. Oh, now mine's stuck. Hang on.
We'll go to someone else's.
Nope, mine's back to normal. If you want to follow me again, Grant, it should be okay. Sometimes if you switch cameras just to like a random person, if you get that stuck thing, it'll come back.
Yeah.
It's such a weird bug that happens just very occasionally. But looks like we're back, guys, and everything is all good now. By the way, while all this has been going on, HeRoMaRinE added on a second factory for some more tanks, which I absolutely love. HeRoMaRinE knows that he's going to win this game based on his positioning, and his tank count is going to be much more important than his bio count. At this point, it feels like both players are just trying to stay even on bio. It's not like you're going to get a big advantage if you have 5 more Marines than your opponent, but if you've got 2 or 3 more tanks and they're in a good position, that could be huge. And very wisely, HeRoMaRinE leaving some scouting billies out on the map here. They're going to see this big push from Cass coming, and while HeRoMaRinE was looking to push out and defend his 4th base that just landed, instead he's going to be able to engage with this army head on. His tank's unsieged, and Cass is going to try and get a good fight here. Yeah,
Cass is able to pick up a couple of tanks very early. There are tanks in the back, though, meaning that he can't push too far forward. Cass has been taking some pretty nice fights here. Some of the times I've been questioning his positioning and stuff, but like this even, that was me questioning HeRoMaRiNE's positioning. That was not a good stim forward. The good thing for HeRoMaRiNE right now is he has a Viking control. He has complete control of the air, meaning that the medevacs and things can't move too far forward, and eventually Gabe, with good positioning, can move forward and hippity-hop forward with his tanks and have that better vision to push this back. We have reinforcements coming down the middle here from Cass, and the fight continuing. Cass actually unseized here. He's going to be stimmed upon.
Yeah, huge mistake there from Cass. He's actually lost all of his medevacs, which this Viking count from HeRoMaRinE really paying off. One of the things that was really beneficial for HeRoMaRinE is that he got that early pressure on the 3rd base of Cass, and behind that he was able to crank out a lot of Vikings, which aren't great like at the beginning of the game because it's all just Marine, and Vikings don't do a whole lot. But just like we were saying earlier with the Marine count, if your Marine count is even or even a little bit ahead, it's fine. If you have no Marines, then you're in trouble. Same with Vikings in a bio versus bio. If your Viking count is similar or a little behind, you can at least take that fight and save your medevacs. If your Viking count, as it is now, is 7-0, you have no control of the air, and that's what's going to seal the game for HeRoMaRinE, really, is the zoning out of these medevacs, and we're going to see the bio forces just getting ripped apart from Castle.
Yeah, Cass trying to move forward, but he moves into tanks, he moves into liberators, he moves into a very, very strong bio force too, and unfortunately enough for Cass, everything will fall, as will Cass's hopes of taking a game 1. It was a very valiant effort. I like what he did early, and with reinforcements coming in, he'll maybe get an okay fight for just a moment, but he has no air units left, and now the Vikings will land and clean up the rest of the tanks, and it will just be moments before Cass realizes he is SOL, shed out of luck, and we'll have to move on. Cass's upgrades, his +3 has started a bit quicker, but I don't think he's going to have any opportunity to capitalize on that. GG is called, and Gabe takes game 1.
HeRoMaRiNE! It's like we're there, Grant, in that famous giant soccer stadium that every StarCraft II match has been played in since the beginning of time. Ah, you miss those days.
We do.
That is the latest good luck have fun I've ever seen in my life.
I don't mind it though.
Really?
Yeah, I don't mind. Sometimes you do forget. You're really thinking, like, especially in like a professional best of 3, you're really thinking about what you're doing. You know, and then you go, oh sugar, I forgot to, you know, say good luck, have fun. But as long as you do it, it's never too late, unless you do it right at the end of the game. I
was about to say, unless you have a cheeky opponent who, as they're cannon rushing you, types a GLHF, and then it does seem a bit cheeky, but still good from our players, man. Grant, if we could just take a moment to appreciate how, like, generally speaking, and I know there are always going to be exceptions, but how nice the StarCraft II professional community is in general. I've dabbled in a couple other esports, and I can tell you, the pros in some other esports can be a mixed bag. You know, there's going to be bad apples in every esport, but I feel like the ratio in StarCraft is much better than we come to expect in some other esports, where the players just generally friendly, polite, mature, and understand that, wow, you know, this is a very serious profession, but also it's a game, and you got to show respect to your opponents. It's so nice to see these players who do go, and it seems like such a tiny thing, but genuinely, it means a whole lot for our scene when they go out of their way to type GLHF, and when you see them at competitions, they're like shaking hands and joking with each other after a tough match and stuff. It always warms my heart.
What you're saying here is, what I'm hearing here is League of Legends.
That's exactly what I said. Congratulations, yes.
Yeah, cool. Thought so.
Exactly. Have you ever listened to the team comms during League of Legends games?
Oh yeah, I have.
Oh man, I'm a little sad. I'm running a tournament later this year that has a 2v2 a component to it, and I was kind of hoping if we could get like a team comms, like just open broadcast on what the teams are up to, but I don't think that's going to happen. But I was thinking it might be a really interesting thing to listen to as players try and play 2v2s. Anyway, Grant, looks like fairly similar builds here from both players. HeRoMaRiNE's Natural going to finish up at about the same time as Cass is here. And the unit counting station looking more or less the same. Again, though, HeRoMaRiNE scrubbing in that Widow Mine early in the game. Grant, is he just learning from last game? He's like, well, the Widow Mine was good last game. Or is this a genuine part of his build?
Yeah, I think this is probably something HeRoMaRiNE prepared in advance and he was wanting to do. It is very safe defensively. Like, you're not going to lose to an earlier pressure such as this one. The Widow Mine just means this cannot commit. Like, you have to throw away your first unit. Oh, he tried to drag it in. That's cute. And if it does end up taking it out, but he throws away a couple of units for it. And there's just no way Cass can snowball this. It's just not going to happen. Numbers are not far enough in his advantage in order to do so. So I love this by Gabe. I like what Cass tried to do there.
Yeah.
Drag that Widow Mine into the opposing forces and get a big bout of friendly fire, but it doesn't happen so far.
Yeah, that's exactly the right thing to do, right? Reapers are such zippy units, they're quite quick, so moving them straight across that Widow Mine path. A Reaper can almost entirely cross a Widow Mine's radius. Wait, radius? Right? No, radius is half. What's the diameter is all the way... No, circumference is around. Its diameter is all the way across, and then radius is half, I think. So you can cross the diameter of a Widow Mine control zone almost entirely. So it was very smart of him to get all the way as far as he could close to the units of HeRoMaRiNE there and try and cause the damage. I know there's one person who majored in higher level maths in the chat right now who's like losing their shit at how I have no idea what geometry is. They're like, didn't you take 7th grade math? Yes, I did. And I forgot all of it because I'm very dumb and my brain is full of StarCraft now instead of anything that I learned in school. Third base is down for both players, Grant. Seems like both players are pretty confident about their skills in a macro game. Who do you think a late game favors? Yeah,
it's hard to look away from Gabe in a late game. He's known for, like, his style of Terran is bringing his army together and just kicking ass somewhere on the map and making very, very close fights seem almost dominant in his favor. He's got great control. He knows when to take fights. The main thing I'd say about Gabe is he knows when to hold them. He knows when to, I don't know the song.
Fold him.
Fold him, there we go.
Yeah.
And that's something that he's great at. We saw in game one what happened. We saw in game one what happens when they go into a relatively even mid to late game, and that is Gabe is able to skyrocket ahead. But I never write off Cass. We've seen Cass beat some very, very strong players. In this sort of Dreamhack online circuit, summer, fall, and now winter, and he's capable of doing it again for sure.
Yeah, I mean, no question. Cass took a game off of Lambo. He took a game off of Goblin. In fact, both of Cass's series have gone to a game 3 so far in this event. So he's definitely a very serious challenger. Now, Grant, this game is a lot less aggressive than last game. As I say that, Cass moves out. I think he's just defending his third. But last game, by the 6-minute mark, we'd already seen Cass move across with a fairly large army, an army about this size, and pressure HeRoMaRiNE's third base. We'd almost by this point seen HeRoMaRiNE counter, defend that pressure, and counter on the other side. But this game, both players staying a little closer to home, both players sieging up, protecting their thirds, and going into the late game. Grant, do you see any advantage for either player as we look at their builds going into the 10-minute mark, 15-minute mark, and beyond?
No, not really, to be honest with you. Both players have 2 Ravens, they both have 4 tanks, they both have a small handful of bio, although, the Viking count, both sitting at 4. We are talking proper looking in a mirror here, both of these guys. Now, Cass has slightly more supply right now. His upgrades are a little bit later, though, so that's where that trade-off is going to be. I mean, we'd be talking about the tiniest, most minuscule window that he'd have to hit in order to for Gabe to really punish this upgrade advantage. And then with defender's advantage and pushing into siege tanks, that's very difficult. It does look like we are going to be going pretty long here. Both players spending their money very well. It's a very good, solid game of StarCraft, a macro Terran versus Terran here. And I'm hoping we get to see it go long. We get to see Liberators, we get to see those sky transitions that so often dictate how a Terran versus Terran matchup will go. But for now, you know, it's flipping a coin as to who's doing better, despite what supply may say.
It's tough to call this early in the game. I kind of put you on the spot there intentionally just to point out how close and even both these players are. Now, you talked a little bit about upgrade advantage, and I will say it's about a 40-second upgrade advantage for HeRoMaRinE right now, which means this timing for Cass could be a little bit rough. If he hits before his 1-1 is finished, he will be walking into one of the strangest anti-timings I've ever seen. His +1/+1 is still about 30 seconds off, 40 seconds off, and I don't know why he's moving across the map at such an odd time. HeRoMaRinE is one of those players who loves to leave units around the map, loves to scout out with these Marines, and he will see this entire army with his Cyclone, giving him plenty of time to transition, re-sieging these tanks in between the natural and the third, protecting both this ramp here at the north side, this ramp here at the west side, and leaving a couple tanks here at the far north side of his third base to be able to defend. So good rotation here from Cass, but HeRoMaRinE should be on top of this. And as you said, it's so difficult to push into siege tanks. I don't see this getting much done for Cass here, who is already further behind on his upgrades because his armory is only about halfway done. HeRoMaRinE just edging him out very slightly, Grant, very slightly.
Yeah, definitely a small mistake there from Cass to have that armory late. Cass's fourth is quicker and on location, which is nice here. He is, at the moment, he's just standing on the map, making a lot of noise, trying to keep Gabe at home whilst he does get that expansion going and pulls ahead in workers. He is only a couple of workers ahead. He needs to start 2-2 like 10 minutes ago, though, because Gabe's is already a quarter of the way done. There we go. He's going to start it off good. Gabe's starting his +1 vehicle weapons as well, so Gabe's upgrades are going to be very, very solid here. And I mean, the problem with Death Aura is you really are going to struggle to push in here. There's nothing Cass can do to punish. Actually, Gabe's going to try and punish Cass, unsiege it. Wow, big anti-armor missiles here, Creighton.
Huge anti-armor missile on both sides, Grant. You're absolutely correct. Most importantly, the Vikings for HeRoMaRinE getting caught, but the air superior is still going to go in HeRoMaRinE's favor. Meanwhile, he's pushing into this fourth base. Reinforcement should be able, or the third base rather. Reinforcement should be able to clean this up, and with the Marines actually not rallied across the map, a little bit of a mistake from Cass is going to turn into a boon as he does defend against that drop because he forgot those Marines back home. Meanwhile, tank lines have been drawn, but Grant, just like last game, take a look at that units tab and tell me who's in the lead in the air. And there's almost nothing more important in mid and late game TVT than having that air control, having that air supply, and getting lost in love, I think is what happens.
Yeah, we can see actually a multi-prong attack coming in right now from Gabe. He's going to thin out not only the air count, but now the tank count as well. Gives him the advantage. Gabe right now is just pulling ahead in almost every respect. His bio count a little bit low, but when you have this many tanks, I mean, who cares, right? Oh, he's even going to catch a couple of medevacs here. This was cute. Just 3 Marines making steps in this game. And this is what we said. This is where Gabe is so good. He picks the right fights at the right moments. And Cass, yeah, sure, he's an extra base ahead or has an extra base up. But right now, he doesn't really have much army. His upgrades are very lax. He's soon to be behind 3 upgrades, Creighton. There's not too much time. And Gabe's not going to be able to punish with a free upgrade advantage, but there is definitely the possibility of moving at a timing when Cass doesn't have +1 vehicle weapons. And I think we'll see HeRoMaRinE probably start moving into Liberators. He already has, there we go, within the next couple of minutes, getting his free. Started to make moves to close the game out. Cass is by no means dead yet, but he needs to take a very good fight or 2 now to really get back into this one.
I agree. Now, Grant, I'm trying to improve my casting game. I need a new metaphor for turning something bad into something good. As these players sort of as Cass gets chased away here, I don't think he's going to take this engagement, just slowing HeRoMaRinE down a little bit. Normally what I say, Grant, like when Cass engaged there, I thought it could have been really bad for HeRoMaRinE, but he got a good flank, he traded very efficiently, and normally when that happens, I say he turned a pig's ear, or a sow's ear, into a purse, which is a very, very dated, random reference.
That's a 1950s reference right there.
It's something really bad into something good. Is there a more modern day reference, a more modern day thing I could use to say when you have something bad happen to you, but you make the most out of it and make it something good? Yeah. What could I be saying instead?
He was given lemons and he made lemonade.
That's much more apt. That's much more apt. Thanks, Grant.
That's all right. He was given gay lemons and he made gay marade. I don't know. No,
now you live near the southwest of England, right?
I live in the southwest of England. Yeah.
You lived in the southwest of England. In the southwest of England, do you say he was given apples and made cider? Because I feel like that'd be much more regionally appropriate for you.
Yeah, definitely. I come from where cider comes from. But not only that, we have the fight coming down right now. Cass is going to go for it, and he's going to die.
I missed the opportunity to say proper scrumpy cider.
Proper job.
This is a good good push from Cass. Honestly, his siege tank's in a really scary position. And HeRoMaRinE, yeah, he's not going to lift off, which is just a bit of a mistake. You know, normally you want to buy yourself a little bit of time, but the real problem right now is that HeRoMaRinE has a sizable army on the other side of the map, and with only 2 tanks out, HeRoMaRinE is going to get driven back. But he's setting up for a flank now, and as we know, with a line of siege tanks, one of the best things you can do, especially as a Terran player with a lot of Marines or a Zerg player, is to try and go with a double-pronged attack and force the tanks to fire halfway on each of your Marines. And with combat shield +2 or even +3 Marines, they stay alive just long enough to close in on those tanks. So I wouldn't be surprised to see HeRoMaRinE kind of shutting the door and sandwiching Cass's army here, and he's going to go ahead and drop right on top of those tanks. Liberator sieging up. HeRoMaRinE's army looks so good, Grant.
Yeah, these Liberators are going to force the Marines and the tanks backwards, but guess what? Here's a little sandwich for you, and now Gabe just getting huge damage. This was perfect, right as 3-3 finishes. Gabe takes an incredible fight, 50 supply of Cassage down the toilet, and Cass right now needs to find something. He needs to find some damage, he needs to find an incredible fight, because he is in big trouble.
Right, proper fight there. Proper
good. All right, me lover.
The entire cast will now be done in a Cornwall accent.
Yes! Finally, my niche.
Call Errol Flynn and let's get this shit done. HeRoMaRinE moving across now, Grant. And if you look at just the supply, you might think, oh, this looks like a fairly even. You know, he's only 10 supply ahead. Look at the tank count. Look at the Marine count. Almost all the supply difference right now in Marines. Cass is actually over-invested in Vikings. And I know earlier in the game, I was like, well, you want to have more Vikings because that's great. But when your opponent has twice the Marines you do, the ratio isn't quite correct here, especially with so few tanks on the ground for Cass. So while this is still defensible for Cass, the game not over by any stretch of the imagination. He's been even on workers the whole time. I still think HeRoMaRinE's in a decent spot. Again, not to be too fanboy, not to try and show too much favoritism. I just think HeRoMaRinE, given the odds right now, is a stronger player, knowing these two players.
Yeah, the good thing for Cass is he may be able to knock out that Liberator count pretty quickly, seeing as he does have 15 Vikings. It's a very good number, and if he can take out the fight in the air dominantly, he can then land the Vikings, and they offer extreme DPS against these light and armored units. Gabe right now starting to add on a lot of the upgrades, getting that medevac afterburners, but we see Cass is really moving into Mass Raven now. And we said yesterday, watching Thermal play, who I know is in the chat, hi Mark, we saw him try to go into this style versus Soul, and the game ended before he got the opportunity. It looks like we may be seeing something similar here, but Cass's Raven count right now is up to 2. And he does have rapid reignition system and everything fun coming on right now.
Yeah, even getting that Corvid reactor upgrade, which is really rare. You don't see that too often at all from Cass or from any Terran player these days. You know, the days of Mass Raven v Mass Raven are long gone. But Cass definitely shifting into that I almost said Sky Toss, that Sky Terran style, which can look very scary. Now, at the same time, of course, HeRoMaRinE responding very well to this, cranking out more Vikings. He's already got a good Liberator fleet. The Viking count actually fairly even between these two players, but the importance of those Ravens cannot be overstated. One good anti-armor missile can negate a good chunk of your Viking supply. So, as we said at the beginning of Game 1, this is definitely a possible very long game for both these players. 16 SCVs going down to, what the hell? Oh, HeRoMaRinE's killing off his own SCVs. I was like, how? I don't see any attacks on the map here. I thought I was being a really bad observer. I was like, the minimap's not even flashing. What's going on? HeRoMaRinE actually clearing out 20 of his own SCVs to make space for more army supply. Smart move here at minute 17 in the game.
Yeah, his bank, of course, isn't going to be as fantastic going forward, but we have a big fight in the air. Oh my god, that anti-armor missile, everything is orange. The fight in the air right now, if we look at the units tab, we can see there are still more Vikings, a lot more Vikings favoring Cass right now. The Liberator's offering a little bit of AoE output, but Cass is able to take that fight, and now he'll be able to use his Viking for a vision advantage. Luckily for Gabe, he does have missile turrets defensively. Far up the map, which will prevent Cass from overextending too much with his Vikings, but that wasn't a bad fight here for Cass. He still has his Ravens as well, building up energy. He's continuing to produce them 3 at a time, Creighton.
This is so interesting. Very different Sky Terran styles, or at least moderately different Sky Terran styles from both of these players. Mass Raven coming out from Cass here, as you said, 3 at a time, but look at the Vikings out for HeRoMaRinE, who just looks like he wants to muscle his way through this game. He's like spellcasting units, don't need them. I'm just going to go mass DPS here. Huge Viking count, large Liberator counts as well. big game, living up to his name, Grant, putting a big air army on the map, whereas Cass looking to be a little more technical and looking to get those higher skill shot units out on the map, which honestly, if you're a touch behind, as Cass is army supply-wise, I think this is the right call. You've got a bigger upside with those Ravens down. As we saw earlier, the Viking count was almost even in that last fight, and Cass was able to take out, I think the end of the fight, it was 8 Vikings to 4 Vikings, and then double supply in Vikings. A big difference when you've got those anti-armor missiles going down. Speaking of anti-armor missiles, that's a lot of Dorito cannon.
There was a bunch of Marines just running backwards and forwards in the fast zone, just like, look at us go, and they got destroyed. And with that, so did Cass's dreams. GG, Hero.